Kevin Stefanski kind of came out the other day and said, "We believe in Kenny Pickett." Then their owner, Jimmy Haslam, for the first time acknowledged that Deshaun Watson was a swing and the miss. For the first time, he came out and said the obviously, like, yeah, we took a risk. And he essentially said it didn't pan out with Deshaun Watson. So this is the first time publicly that Cleveland waved the white flag. And the first part of admitting you have a problem is saying the problem out loud for Cleveland. So now they know they have a problem. And then Kevin Stefanski saying, "We believe in Kenny Pickett." I mean,
I'm so glad I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan. Shit like this would drive me nuts. I mean, the first thing, give a lot of credit to the Haslam family. They admitted they took a huge swing. If it would have paid off, it would have been very great for them. But unfortunately, you traded for a serial rapist. Who would have thought that didn't pan out? But ultimately, they admitted that they did wrong, which is good. Now they can heal, get rid of Deshaun Watson, and then them saying that they believe in Kenny Pickett horrifies me as a fan of the NFL. Kenny Pickett is not the guy. Morgan Wallen will not be your future, but if that means that it's going to be a red herring, they're not going to take Shador Sanders, he's going to go to New York, then it is what it is. But they admit wrongdoing. Kenny Pickett's the future, so we'll see how that pans out for a historically great quarterback team, the Browns.
yeah, we'll see. Maybe Kenny Pickett has his Sam Darnold moment, but I don't know.
Hopefully.
I don't know. It could just be the Steelers are just eating good quarterbacks alive ever since Ben Roethlisberger left. It seems like their offense has been anemic at this point, but the NFL did vote on some rule changes as well. The owners voted to adjust the ball spot on touchbacks to the 35-yard line on dynamic kickoffs.
Well, I'm fine with that.
And then they also vote on the tush push, and then they ended up tabling it for a later date here. So we don't end up getting the tush push. So they're gonna make up their minds on that later, but they did make up their minds on overtime, and now they voted for both teams to be able to possess the ball in the regular season.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of that. I think that the rule before was stupid because ultimately, like, let's say we have a battle between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Ultimately, it comes down to a coin toss on who wins the game. And it's not just those guys that ultimately get hurt the most. Like, last year we had one of the greatest games of the year, which was Baker Mayfield versus Kirk Cousins. We saw Kirk Cousins enter the Hall of Fame conversation of that game, throwing for 500 yards and going ballistic, and then basically dying the rest of the season. But Baker Mayfield almost missed the playoffs because of a coin toss that ultimately went to the Falcons. They scored, the game's over. That's retarded. That's a horrible idea. Give both teams a chance to score in overtime, and then when the team that won the coin toss has the second possession in overtime, okay, it's all resolved. That's fine. Ultimately, in my opinion, they need to go a step further. They need to implement the college plan even further. You saw what happened with the ASU Texas game in the postseason. That's your answer. That's the solution. Where ultimately it's Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson versus Joe Burrow. They have their drives. They both score a touchdown. And then ultimately they both go for two until ultimately one of them doesn't succeed and they win the game. They do a shootout, just like they do in hockey. And guess what? Guess who has the best overtime rules in all of sports? Hockey. That's what they got to do. Just keep going for it. Each possession, they score 1 point, and then ultimately they go back and forth until one team fails. That's the solution. But they went a step further, and they ultimately made it better.
Yeah. No, they made it better. So overall, successful rule change for the NFL. NFL draft is coming up, so we'll probably start looking at some mock drafts soon here, even though we're not as much into college football. We're more into history on the show, going through past drafts, taking a look back at it. And then, so there's just another thing in the NFL kind of setting in, and it's not news yet, but Antonio Brown called this, last year after the season was over, immediately. He was like, Aaron Rodgers is going to the Steelers. Y'all just don't know it yet, and it hasn't been announced. And then Art Rooney was kind of like today, all signs are pretty much pointing that it's confirmed that he's coming to the Steelers. He's just wrapping up a second season of his show. He's going to close his eyes barefoot and talk about caterpillars. So now Aaron Rodgers, it's looking like he's going to be on the Steelers with George Pickens and DK Metcalf. What is going on?
I think Aaron Rodgers makes them more interesting than Russell Wilson ultimately. But I also think that they're the exact same team that they're going to be with him or what they were last year without him, which is just a team that is 10-7, makes the playoffs, and then is just an annual divisional round loser or wild card loser. Like they're not going to win with him, but they'll be interesting, I guess. Like they'll be fun to watch. I mean, the Steelers are always good defensively. Their offense should be better with Aaron Rodgers, but their ceiling is the exact same and their floor is the exact same. The wild card. Their floor and their ceiling are still the wild card. How can you have the same floor and the same ceiling at the same time? That's the Steelers. Worst case scenario and best case scenario is the same thing, ultimately.
Yeah, and the thing is, they still might finish number 2 in that division behind the Ravens just because the Bengals don't have a team anymore. And Cleveland, is Cleveland at this point. They're riding it
Have
out
Kenny
with Kenny
Pickett
Pickett.
playing.
Yeah, they have Kenny Pickett playing, so we'll see what happens when they roll out a trash can behind center. And we'll see how that works out. But I don't know, Aaron Rodgers with DK Metcalf, and my biggest problem with this happening is why didn't this happen the first time? Because I thought the original plan should have been Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh. He had that whole back and forth with Mike Tomlin, and then, we didn't bring in Aaron Rodgers because we're still waiting for Kenny Pickett to develop. And then so he went to the Jets instead. Like, I felt like he always should have gone to the Steelers. And again, this is 3 years too late now. Again. So now we wasted 3 years of your career when you're in your He's now at this point.
They should have left Pickett there. Kenny Pickett would have benefited from seeing Aaron Rodgers every day. But instead, yeah, you just have two of the most embarrassing Jet seasons, arguably in history. And then now he's ultimately just going to end up being on the Steelers team anyways. It's like you just kind of wasted Aaron Rodgers' time, and Aaron Rodgers just kind of wasted your time as well. And it's weird what's going on right now in free agency because everybody knows that he's going to the Steelers, especially now that the Giants picked Russ and Jameis Winston to ultimately be their short-term future. So we all know you're going to the Steelers, but you haven't announced that you're going to the Steelers. Just announce it already. We all know you're going to the Steelers. You're either retiring or you're going to the Steelers, but just make up your mind already. You don't have leverage. Just decide so we can just move on from it. But he won't. He'll just make me suffer.
Well, it's like he's already decided, but I feel like he just kind of does it to troll the media because you have all these boomers. Like, I can't believe Aaron Rodgers is holding people hostage. He's not holding people hostage.